Alright, there we go. There we go. There we go. We should be fine now. Hey, Northern Tommy. Hey, Nobre. Hey, Nicolino. How you guys doing? Happy to see you all in the chat. Alright, let's get going. Oh! That's a moment. Alright, so... Why is it foggy? Why is my world foggy? Probably would have been faster to load in, but you know what? Fine, I'll take the rain. You know what? I lied. Goodness me. Rain. It's the Age of Ancients. I wish. Oh, God. God! Truly, the stream title could never be more apt, could it? There we go. Alright, get the hell out of here. Okay, we got normal graveyard here. That we can date to the most recent conflict that's got all these cuckoos holed up. This one I'm still not 100% clear on when this ties into the timeline. Because we already have a graveyard over here. If it has to be with the... Yeah, it's supposed to be here. Right? So this entire area is supposed to be a graveyard for the town. Yeah. So why have the coffin cemetery here? I'm still not entirely certain there. Now granted, there is the path from the Rose Church to the catacombs all the way over this way. So... could be that. I make coffee now, no problem, Tommy. You do what you would do. Hello, Saint_meme. Welcome to the chat. Now, I'm not very familiar with a Saint meme, but I assume that you're new here. So if so, welcome on in and get comfy. If not, well, sorry, I have a goldfish memory, so apologies. Now let's see. What else are we looking at here? We've got ourselves our bridge, yada yada yada. We then have the graveyard here, right? So it's graveyard here, then here, and here. So you have the 3 strings of graveyards, that's fine, right? So that's the idea, that you have a bunch of soldiers probably holed up this way. You have this side being completely defended. Right. So you got the defense line here. Now, am I reading this wrong, perhaps? I'm trying to think. Okay, could they have actually tried going up this route and tried fighting their way through here to get to the back? Maybe? I don't know. We also have the Erdtree Highway, which extends from here and goes all the way down. I can't remember if it's here or through here. Actually, no, I think it's actually more this way. Yeah, because it goes all the way to here, right? So, be something like this. Yeah. Then it goes all the way here. And then... we have the defense tower there. Let me double check this is right. No, I don't even trust my own memory. I've tuned it a couple times before, but didn't really say anything in chat. Ah, okay, good, good. So you're a lurker. That's fine, too. Huge fan of your works. Oh, awesome. Glad you've enjoyed my stuff. Hope it's been helpful. Well, let's see. Yeah, we have the highway here, right? Just to confirm, do we have... No, there's nothing... Oh, wait. Okay, we do have the blocks here, but this is like the generic stuff. Like, I wouldn't... That isn't really indicative of anything. All of them have those edges. They couldn't be bothered to make a normal one. This is where we start seeing actual proper highway tiling. And it 100% does use the third tree highway stuff. Rather consistently. Yeah, okay. Then we stop seeing it until we get to here, and it's still consistent. See, I think it's fair to say that it's probably consistent the whole way through until shown otherwise. But I doubt they're repaving this much highway in Liurnia. Loki bro, DS1 question. By the Four Kings having a shared health bar, this implies that their Lord Soul Shard became their main soul, yeah? Not necessarily. It's just how the boss functions. We don't get a proper separate boss soul from theirs, and I wouldn't say that necessarily means that they shared it. Hey Pedro, welcome to the chat. All I would say that the Four Kings shared health bar tells us is that they consider that the boss is defeated when you defeat enough of any of the four, because you're guaranteed to kill at least a few of them, or at least one of them, as you're fighting through them. And they infinitely spawn. Again, it's a DPS check boss, so it's either you kill them before they spawn enough of themselves to kill you, or you die. Right? You're gonna get overwhelmed and die. And it's theoretically possible for you to see, I think it's up to 9 they actually can spawn in, but you're gonna die well before that, and the chances that you're even gonna notice that there were more than 4 kings during the 4 kings boss fight is exceptionally low. So yeah, I would not look too hard for lore in the boss mechanics there. That's trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Yeah. Now, we don't have any other graveyards here, right? Well, this is the standard stuff, so it's not too crazy. But yeah, I think it's fair to say it's probably regular Erdtree Highway that was built here. So they had one that was built through to connect this to this, all the way from Carian Study Hall. Yeah. Okay. Now we have these graves here. Could be because there's a battle that happened at this interception point. Could just be, though, this is supposed to represent the local graveyard for the Lascar, so... Which stat are you going over? My stuff for the Fringe Folk Rebellion thesis, which will be coming after Liurnian Wars. I want to go over and confirm some of the data. Because I want to make sure that I've fully explored other potential avenues of analysis for it. So that way I'm giving you guys the most likely scenario. I want to make sure I got my probabilities in check. Okay, so Lascar itself, we don't care about the ruins. Now, if we believe that there were soldiers up here, I have to double check what the Ashes of War were. See if we have any indication of barrages or something that might have happened up here. Oh, it's actually the entire thesis on the Fringe Folk Rebellion. Yeah, it's going to be 20 pages at least. It's currently at like 19 with the Godfrey Rain doc information. And there's 100% going to be expansions and elaborations done to it on some of the content, and probably some changes to help reformat it for this, for the website content. So yeah, it's going to be, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be a 25-pager in total once it's done. It's gonna be quite extensive. I mean, we're basically covering like we're basically covering the entire last third of Godfrey's reign. So like, I've covered. I'm not gonna cover the Glowmite Queen and Ancient Dragon War stuff. Although honestly, I might rethink my Ancient Dragon War stance depending on how much we know, because there is a bunch of really good stuff there. But I might just put it in a Twitter post and talk about the Ancient Dragon War as a full thesis later down the line, because I still don't know why, for example, why Far Missoula doesn't war earlier. That's a huge issue I think I have with my theory, is that I don't understand what is preventing this battle breaking out earlier if they were going to go to war anyway. Like, was Grand Sax acting on his own? It was kind of like, well, we fell into this. Was there something else going on? Like, it's very vague there, and I don't know. And again, I'm not gonna trust the DLC to answer these questions for me either, so. We have the graveyard stuff here, which makes sense with the bridge battle here. There's no graveyard stuff here, but there is one here. There's also the graveyard out front here with the jellyfish. $12, I think. Oh, the number's 12, not 9. But yeah, you can definitely a lot of forking individual boss enemies. And again, the chances that you'd actually survive to see that is like slim to none. You'd really have to force the game and be like a god to be able to dodge all or survive everything that the Four Kings have and be able to like spin around getting it. Like, the only people who are going to do that are people who already know how the boss fight works and are trying to mechanically abuse it, right? So like, again, I don't think the shared health bar thing is indicative of anything lore-wise. I think the idea is just supposed to be that you are, you're killing individual Four Kings. You're expected to kill basically one, you're basically supposed to kill one at a certain rate, and once you kill up to about 4, that's when you should have the boss dead, more or less. So it shouldn't be hard for you at that point, be able to go through essentially fighting 4 kings in total, right? And if there are any others in the background or stuff, they're probably going to go to the back of your mind, and you're not going to remember how many there were or what important it is, because the cutscene will sort of give you a hard cut. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So we have the graveyard here, so definitely a siege up here. Definitely a conflict here, but I'm not sure if there was ever actually a conflict at the front gate to block them off. I don't think so, because we don't have enough evidence of battles happening, I think, up front here, right? No, we know the hero's grave was reestablished at that point, for sure. Church of Ella, Gatefront ruins. We have the catacombs, of course. There's a graveyard outside the catacombs too. Obviously, we have the graveyard on the inside too. Here. So yeah, that's all conflicted with a battle happening in the back of the castle mainly. And then Godfrey building his big-ass throne tower to make a very obvious statement as all these bodies are buried back here. So we've got the pagan burials, graves here, so lots to work with there. Got the golden flowers there to add insult to injury. Da, da, da. Arise now, ye Loki, ye offline who yet stream. Yes, I do stream. But I'm not offline. Well, I guess offline in-game for sure, but I would hope that if I'm streaming, I am still online. That's not what I was looking at. Where the hell is this lever? Oh, I am blind. I'm like, where the hell is this lever, chat? Yes, we have the Erd Tree style thing, even though you can't see it in this darkness. Yeah, no problem, Raijin. Don't feel like you have to stay the whole time. Again, these streams are mostly for me, and you guys are free to sit in and chill and give me some company. So I appreciate you coming by just to say hello. Then, this isn't really relevant to the battle stuff, because it's just a shrine area for burial that can happen throughout the entire timeline, honestly. Nope. Do we have any other burials that we want to account for here? No, not really. This one's already accounted for in the previous analysis I've done. So, this stuff, no. This stuff, yes. Potentially this stuff, though, again, this could be argued as part of a larger combat that was happening over here. I wish there was a... I don't know, though, if it was a battle at the front gates or if that was after Stormveil was captured from the rear. Well, we know that forces escaped, so maybe there definitely wasn't anything there, and it was only when after the castle was captured and stuff that they finally were able to push and take the bridge. And then they started clearing out the forces that were hiding out inside the hill. I have a question. One of your texts, you said that Banished Knights were sent by Marika through Liurnia to settle Limgrave and they built Stormveil. Can you elaborate on this? I thought Farm guys just split it up. Sarash went to the tree and Hawk went south. No. I mean, if you have to tell me where you read that Saint meme, because I explain it, the reasoning and explanation very thoroughly in Altus Unification War, which talks about the farm colonies. So if you've read my Erdtree's Beginning to understand the farm colonies, then you understand my account there, and then you read Altus Unification War, I cover exactly why. Marika tells us exactly that's exactly what she did. She has her lines here with Melina, and I go over the Japanese text specifically to kind of go over how clear Miyazaki is with his language in the terms of that. But yeah, it's basically as you say. There's really not much more to elaborate on. You essentially have an entire culture that exists on the plateau. The Hawk thing was already part of them because Farum Azula and the Hawks had a long-standing relationship, so that was already a thing in their culture, which is why you see Stormhawks up here, you see Stormhawk influence over here, Stormhawk influence in Fortified like, you see Hawks all, like, obviously Volcano Minor, like, the bird imagery is consistent all over the Farum colony stuff. It has nothing to do with north or south. Hey, Mercy, welcome to the chat again. Wonderful to have our little cat in the box kind of lurking. Anyway, so that has nothing to do with, oh, Sarash went to one direction or not. Like, they share the same imagery between them. It has nothing to do with that. Also, we have the Fortified Manor shield here, which tells us that these people have a connection back there to the Fortified Manor where Sarash was. Obviously, you also have the, where is it? Well, you have the various little images with the hawks and the statues and stuff that are also used here from the Stormhawk King. But most importantly is the hammer. You have the stone block hammer, which is supposed to indicate the rebellion that happened there. So again, the entire point is that essentially the America sent those who refused to integrate into Erdtree society, essentially remained ever rebellious. We're not even refusing to even simply accept her as their queen, if not their god, right? We see the pagan district, and we see how there were those who became like misbegotten, who were still treated relatively well because of their holiness and stuff. And we also see those who integrated and pretty much fully embraced Erdtree religion in order to become part of the culture, though they still seem to have been kind of treated as second-class citizens based on the way they're uniquely connected to the Erdtree ramparts and their weapons and stuff are in there and things. So again, that might be a leftover from the earlier plans with Morgott and the Banished Knights. Can't say with 100% certainty. But anyway, to go back to the main point, since I'm bloviating, the idea with the rebellion essentially is that we have the farm colonists sent here. They're building up the Stormveil penal colony. And then around the time that it was nearing completion, the Ancient Dragon War kicks out. And the Ancient Dragon War seems to have more or less acted as the catalyst to convince the farm colonists down here to rebel. Then they take over Stormveil with the help of the Stormhawk King and the Stormhawks there. and then together, they essentially establish, I wouldn't call it a kingdom necessarily, right? But they kind of establish their own mini-state, right? And then they start spreading across here, and that's where we get Morn Castle, the various watchtowers, Fort Height, all that stuff, the Celia Gateway, Fort Faroth, and Gale, right? So all that stuff is a result of the penal colonists essentially spreading across the region and really entrenching themselves. And keep in mind, Far Missoula was here too, so there was a good reason for them to spread across here and sort of establish a presence in the entire South. So that way they could really sort of be able to kind of like carve out their own cultural niche and reconnect with Far Missoula. Then Far Missoula, as we know, lost the war and went sky high. Another reason to believe that the meteor strike happened during the Ancient Dragon War, and was not some really, really later event that's, you know, more recently affecting the lands between. But anyway, point is that essentially what we got here then is Godfrey and crew having to come down and clear out this entire area, and that's why we have Godfrey ending up in Caelid when he turns tarnished with his army, right? This is the last land in their campaign across this entire southern region, and that's what I term the Fringe Folk Rebellion. The Misbegotten of Morn Castle may disagree about the good treatment. Listen, we're talking about at the time of the Age of Plenty, during the time of which the Stormvale colony was established. So, very, very different circumstances. Yes, nowadays, ever since the reign of Radigan, Misbegotten have had it pretty rough. Do we know the exact location of Far Missoula before it went up in the air? Yes, like I was pointing out earlier. This is where Far Missoula was originally. Was located here. So you have the Farm Great Bridge, the little mini Farm Bridge, you have the Bestial Sanctum, and then we had Farm Missoula taking up this space here where the Isolated Divine Tower is now. So it was basically this giant landmass. Now there was a river flowing through it at the time. I don't know if this area is supposed to be where the river is, because you have all these again, the game map is misleading. These basically extend into the water and stuff. So probably not intended to be underground, but again, the developers may just not have been thinking that far when designing these two quote-unquote separate areas, right? But there was definitely a river based on the shield we get from Far Missoula, which has a giant black strip, which is used to represent rivers in another shield as well. But the idea is clearly that this is supposed to be a river that was flowing through Far Missoula. So there's still a water outlet for all this endless water that gets dumped into the ocean. But, yeah, it was a lot smaller originally, and that there was an actual landmass here. Hey, Xavier. Sorry I'm late. I was taking a nap. How dare you, Xavier? How dare you not be the first thing I see in this stream chat every single day that I do so? For shame! For shame! Nah, it's okay, man. Hope you had a good nap. By the way, Omen relate to the Crucible era. They're disguised because they had remaining features that are era-like horns and like. Yes, they show up, in fact, specifically at the very end of the Crucible era. Morgott and Mohg's banishment to the sewers seems to have been one of the very last events before the Crucible finally, you know, went kaput. It seems to have been a gradual process, right? It wasn't overnight, and the Omen incident seems to be somehow involved there. It's a related incident in that respect, but yeah. It all connects that way. Okay, let's, this is a good spot for me to start doing my search, I think. Where is this? Am I crazy? I know there's graves. Yeah, okay, so we have the graves over here, right? So you have the graves over here, we got the troll and buddy. Probably have to think about inserting that troll into my, my Godric thesis. I know I talk about trolls in there, and that guy might be a good, example to talk about, since now I've written out the crystal tier stuff, so I don't feel bad about including things on the vessels. The little water basins. So I assume you already checked the lever at the Church of Igle? Yeah, I checked, and I have pictures of all of the levers, Xavier, so we're good on that front. I have 100% direct comparison there. In fact, yeah, let's actually drop the image right now with you guys, since I have that activated, so I can highlight this for stuff. Yay, it's Loki story time. So, where is this? Gelmir, Volcano Manor. Oh, goodness me, did I move it? I can't find that thing now. God, I have so many screenshots sometimes. Well, it's fine. But yeah, okay, let's just use the general Langdell one then if I can't find this thing. I know I have it. I saw it earlier. Altus, Langdell. Alright, that's the other one. Here we go. Wait, what's this? No, not you. Not you. I had another one open, that's why. Whoopsie. Okay, here we go. Huh? Yeah, let's move that. There we go. Scuff stream chat. Alright, so, as we can see here, we have this over here with our wonderful tree imagery here. This is used in Langdell and also in Stormvale Castle. I should have the image of that too. Let me find it. Stormvale Castle. Is this the one? I actually don't remember now. Let me gotta close this a little. There we go. Why do they open weird? Anyway, so yeah, we can see the same thing here at Stormvale, right? This is very unusual for a Norman-style farm colonist construction, because normally, I think the one I have of Morn Castle is the best option, right? Castle Morn. Yeah. There we go. Again, why are you like this? Why do you open these? Whatever. So here, if you look closely, you can see we have this where it's like the flower image with the hawk head in the middle. Actually, it's not even necessarily a flower. You could just argue those are feathers, right? So let's just say it's the hawk head on this lever. This is what you normally see in like your Redmane Castle. Actually, I don't think Redmane Castle has a proper lift, but like your Castle Morns, your Shaded Castle, like these are the things that you expect here. But they went the extra mile with Stormvale to replace the lift levers, it seems, which makes sense in the context of Stormvale Castle having a lot of renovations done with the purposes of propaganda. So the idea that they might go the extra mile to change the levers isn't crazy. Well, maybe I missed something. For some reason, I thought you meant that farm colonists ended up in Limgrave only because of America, and thank you for your answer. Well, if they only ended up in Limgrave because of America, like, that is what I'm saying Saint means. So, like, again, just to go over very quickly. The point is, the farm colonies come from Farm Azula, they cross the bridge from the isolated Divine Tower to where the fortified manor is now, up to this bridge, right? And they establish a presence with the locals, and they establish what I call the farm colonies. These colonies are basically just a bunch of different establishment, forts, you know, things that they do, like Volcano Manor and things, in order to basically integrate with the locals. Castle Sol is another good example, right? And they spread their culture here. They already have their Stormhawks. They already have Sarosh, right? And a bunch of his lions that are with them, right? That will later be enslaved by the Erdtree people, and they become the Guardian lions we're familiar with today, right? Like, that's what was taking over the Highlands at the time, right? Then, Godfrey comes in with Marika, and they sweep through. And then Marika basically says, okay, if you're not going to play ball with me, I'm going to send you away. I've also talked about how, some of the farm colonists seem to have, you know, being pushed off the plateau by Godfrey, you know, rather than stay and fight. They seem to have basically gone to the lowlands, established Caria Manor, start raiding down here into the sorcerer territory, and then Renala rallies the sorcerers and takes over the manor and establishes her royal dynasty, right? So, again, all of that was happening, and then Marika, with a diplomatic agreement with Liurnia, has all these soldiers take a conga line of shame all the way down here to Storm Hill, where they establish the Stormvale colony. And then, much later, we're talking about post-Crucible era now, around the time of the Ancient Dragon War, essentially. We got the Stormvale Castle in rebellion. That has Stormvale Castle now taken by the Banished Knights, right? The penal colonists. And then they start spreading and establishing a presence all here in concert with Farm Azula culture, right? Then Farm Azula goes kaput, and Godfrey and co. start sending forces down here to deal with the rebels that have now ceded over the entire south, right? That's the general history we're talking about. Now, one thing that one thing that I'm trying to look at here, with checking over old data, is trying to figure out, if there's, like, there's the giant graveyard here, right? It's not loading in at the moment, but there's the giant graveyard here up front, in front of Stormvale Castle. And there's a few more graveyards that we've also explored, but we don't see much in ways of any signs of battle happening around here at the Storm, what do they call it? Stormgate? Yeah, the Stormgate. Versus what we see at, say, like, the Celia Gateway. So it doesn't look like there was any combat happening to take over here. It seems that more or less what happened was Godfrey and crew take over the Stormvale Castle by besieging the rear, while putting pressure on the bridge to make sure that that neither side can basically try to, you know, pincer attack the other, right? So this was a huge place of contention, hence all the dead here that have been buried, right? But then, of course, you have all the dead buried here because the battle that was happening up here, right? In the end, and also, of course, in here, how could I forget, right? So you have a bunch of, like, the sorcerers and Godfrey forces as a coalition that are dying and buried here, and all the forces on the other side of the walls being besieged who are dying and getting buried here. And then, of course, Godfrey ends up taking over and starts renovating the place. Builds an arena, too, once he takes over that part of the hill. Then, once Stormvale Castle is secure, it then is like, okay, we have to start dealing with the pockets of forces. I think the graveyard is, what, here or here? I can't remember which one, right? There's also some more graveyard things that we can find on the edges of the Storm Hill around here and stuff, or was it down here? I can't remember exactly. But the point is that there's a bunch of burial sites and stuff that likely have to do with this idea of dealing with, like, small skirmishes and clearing out all of Storm Hill. They probably then stopped here, right? We don't see much in ways of conflict here. We do see conflict over here, right? Which will make sense when they later do the assault. But east was the last thing on Godfrey's mind, because again, as we know, Caelid would be the last battlefield that Godfrey would be on before he gets exiled. So what we're dealing with now is basically Stormgate secure, and they start doing the same thing. They do some clear outs over here. We obviously have the dead buried here. In fact, this is actually the only catacomb that has Banished Knight helmets and stuff left on the shelves and things, so that's cool. Obviously take back the hero's grave, which I think existed since the penal colony was first established, and it was a way to show respect. So it's like, okay, the less heroic ones will be here, and the full heroic ones will be buried here. And then, obviously, probably things changed once Stormvale was able to take over everything, but now it's back to its original purpose. So we have all of that happening here to clear out this section, because keep in mind, there's like a hard cliff sides and stuff, so this area is mostly protected for the time being. Those graves are more like Liurnia graves, right? The ones with the ones where I talked about with the Sorcerer Coalition, the pagan graves are used here, right? So the flat top graves that I talked about, which we see associated with non-Marika, or like basically when they're not part of the Marika orthodoxy, but they're performing Erdtree burial, they tend to use the flat top graves instead of the flower top graves that we see from Dark Souls 3, Cathedral of the Deep. So we see them used here with, like, what's it called? The Academy of Raya Lucaria, right? And then we also see them used in the Pagan Quarter, of course. We've talked about that previously, and some other places. But again, it's very consistent how they're used. Like, for example, they're used here in the west of Stormvale 2, I think, if I recall correctly, at the Chapel of Anticipation. Also, oh yeah, we also find one of them among the graves here in the Mourn Moan grave, so... yeah, very consistent. Anyway, so we have all that covered. We also have the bridges. Okay, we have the Murkwater Catacombs in the graveyard out here. I want to say that's part of the clearing out system. So, like, this was... the Stormfoot Catacombs and stuff was for clearing out west. I can't remember if there are other graveyards here. Maybe I want to check that out, actually. And then east would be the Murkwater Catacombs and potentially others. Like I said, I think there may be some other grave stuff here. But anyway, it shows like a sense of multiple different conflicts and stuff, dealing with source forces that are sort of entrenched out in the countryside, right? Not too crazy to imagine, because again, Stormvale is captured. They've killed the Stormhawk King in a duel between him and Godfrey, so they basically had their quote-unquote leader that they were turning to rule Stormvale from this quote-unquote capital has been lost, right? And now they basically have a bunch of them sort of flying to the winds. You obviously have tons of entrenched forces over in Caelid, Weeping Peninsula, Fort Height, etc. But they take time to gather their forces and mobilize. They have to go and support the colony, right? And clearly they weren't fast enough. And then we have all this clearing out happening slowly but surely. We know then along the highway there was tons of battles and stuff that were going this way. Again, probably secured bulkheads and stuff to make sure that nobody was gonna basically invade them from the east and things. But eventually they go all the way here. Again, another big battle in the valley. What a surprise. Go all the way to Bridge of Sacrifice. Cross over there. Then we have the big wall here you have to get through. There's the signs of conflict that are happening over there, if I recall correctly. You have to deal with the east and west now, because they're forces that can be entrenched up on the valley tops here and can basically rain down hell from above. So you got the graveyard with the Impaler's catacombs here, over there. I can't remember if there are any other burial spots in this area. And then, we have to take over the Ailing Village and stuff, so that's where we get the Kalu Baptismal Church. We also have... you're right, we also have one of the graveyards that are back here by the Demi-Human Forest Ruins. Forest Dweller Ruins. I get all these names mixed up. And then, obviously, we have the Tombs Ward Catacombs. I think there's another graveyard spot somewhere around here. There's definitely one by the tower, though, right? So, Tower of Return gets captured and stuff. Wall gets broken down once all of this is cleared. And then Morn Castle's the next target, right? And we know how that went. Then, after Godfrey takes over Morn Castle, you have the big hero who decides he's going to do a little trolling and then besiege Godfrey inside the castle with his exhausted forces. And this guy's a one-man army single-handedly dealing with them. So, Godfrey's forced to take to the field and defeat him in single combat, and then he's buried here with respect because hey, dude was definitely a hero. And then of course we go east and we defeat Fort Height here. Down here, we have like the burial grounds. Yeah, there's one here. There's of course the one at the ruins here. This is where Aokade formally basically loses its entire identity and gets assimilated to the Erdtree Kingdom, and whatever remaining forces are left to die over in the Kaled campaign. Hence the graveyard we have over there. And then we've got, yeah, something similar here, because I think there's the graveyards and stuff here, right? Those Coffin Cemetery and the graveyard there. And again, when there's like double up and stuff, I'm open to the possibility that, like, say, the graveyard is from, like, say, the initial battle to take Fort Height, and the Coffin Cemetery is a separate thing from, like, you know, just regular people dying as they're, like, stationed at the fort or something in the ensuing era of peace during Radigan's reign. I'm open to that. Similar thing with, Stormvale Castle, right? Because we have the graveyard inside Stormvale Castle from the most recent conflict. We have the graveyard going all the way around here from the more extensive stuff. And then we have the Coffin Cemetery out back. So there's a lot of doubling up there that I can totally accept as being... the Coffin Cemetery is like a more recent thing from like the ensuing period of peace. Anyway. Did you ever take photos of the arrows in the catacombs with normal fire arrows? I don't recall doing so, no. I know I got in magic arrows and lightning arrows, but I don't think I've ever gotten one for the normal stuff. Loki, you think Godfrey would have been a good ruler after every war has been won and they could focus on maintaining order and peace? After all, good conquerors, not necessarily a good king. We had an era of peace, during the Crucible stuff, where basically America was in charge. So, like, I mean... whether or not Godfrey was a good king, he seems to have more or less just listened to whatever America was. Because, again, he's the consort. His goal is just to protect the god and the Erdtree. I mean, I guess you could argue he can exert his power over his wife, because she's basically helpless without him, like, defending her and stuff. But obviously there's a lot of religious issues if he does so, you know? You know, you're dealing with a god, so, like, she says that, like, he's acting too, what's the word, tyrannical as her husband. He's kind of fucked by all of Erdtree society, right? So, like, that's a brewing for a civil war, right? So, like, I don't know. It seems like the way things went, it was basically just Godfrey would ultimately do what America would say in the end. I mean, that's what happens when he gets exiled, right? Well, you think Aokade was Mistwoods? Yes, I would recommend reading my article on my most recent article on Crucible's End. I actually talk about Aokade as the Mistwood, and I lay out my explanation for that there too. And again, I actually only wanted to write Crucible's End. I know it's like a minor part of the larger analysis, but I had to explain Aokade in that analysis before I talk about Fringefolk Rebellion, because like I said, it's incredibly central that you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm referring to the Mistwood ruins and the Mistwood in general as Aokade. I think it would have been Murkwater Catacombs. By normal, I think they aren't bone arrows, if I recall correctly. Sure, I'll take a look at that right now, then, because I do not have a shot, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I recommend, again, I recommend going to my guide page on my website. Again, link in the description if needed. Because the guide page has all the Elden Ring stuff in, like, a chronological order. So if you're ever rusty on, like, say, where I stand on a certain topic, or if you want to see if I've updated my thoughts or anything, because I do updates and things, right? I actually recently did an update to Age of Plenty or whatever to expand on a few things. But, yeah, you can read that stuff in order, and it will give you a more or less chronological stuff. There's a few gaps, of course. Like I said, I'm not covering Glowmite Queen. You guys have seen, like, all the lore videos, I'm sure, on Glowmite Queen or whatever. I have nothing of significant to add that those people haven't already said at this point, so I'm not going to waste my time on analysis that's going to bore me to death. You all know Glowmite Queen is Melina. Let's not be Cope. And then, what is it? Oh, yeah, and then we have, Ancient Dragon War. Like I said, I'll be skipping for now, but maybe I'll cover it a little bit on Twitter. I'm not using the new name. I'm not seeing anything special besides the bars blocking the way on that stuff. So yeah, let's just look at the button now. That was a lot faster than I was expecting, if I'm being quite honest. Well, those really are lava arrows, huh? Well, that hurt. Wow. Damn. Me trying to be quick, it ain't working. At times 5 speed, my reaction speed is way too slow. Yeah, it's true about Godfrey. I don't think he would have expected to find Radigan. That Radigan is America. Would have been kind of funny seeing his mind blown by that truth. Yeah, I'm not sure if he was aware or not. He might have been, honestly. But we don't even know. We don't even know if he was aware of Marika's intent to marry Radigan after he left. Like, we don't know a lot about that. That's something that I would really have to, like, dive deep to kind of see if that's something that Godfrey probably would know or not. But it's really hard to say for sure from where I'm standing right now. Okay, let's try this instead. There we go. I like this shot, chat. That's a perfectly respectable shot. I think it's the same model, but recolored as the Ghost Flame arrows. Oh, I see. You're right, that is a cloth. It's just a cloth that's on fire. Okay. Coolio. What fascinates me here is that we have these guys here, because normally we see them, obviously they're the ones with the sorcery scepter, right? But we typically see them or these statues in areas that have connections to sorcerers, like the Black Knife, like the, what is it, Black Knife Point? I forget what it's called. Yeah, Black Knife Catacombs. So I'm kind of surprised. Like this, I'm not too unsurprised about. It looks like they were maybe trying to be extra safe with whatever bodies would end up being buried or something. Might make sense if we consider the type of people that were being buried here. Everything else, though, is like the same generic tile assets, so. I think these are the only other arrow trap that isn't bone arrows. Good to know, then. Yeah, they're using normal Ghost Flame instead of the sorcery stuff, so yeah. Definitely some mysteries here that we need to look into more, but everything else is more or less consistent. Yeah, so... yeah, I covered all the graves and stuff here. Like I said, I want to check if there's actually more than just the Stormfoot Catacombs in this area. There we go. Oh, why am I using this? Nothing's loading in here. Yeah, okay, so, because it's just the forest here, the cave there, the ruins there. Hilariously enough, ruins don't have their own graveyard, but that's not surprising because their entire point was to be a mortuary town to deliver people to a graveyard anyway, so, you know, it kind of fits. Honestly, that might even be what the graveyard outside the hero's grave proper is for, now that I think about it. Anyway, moving on. We got, yeah, okay, so we have this here, right? And the catacombs over there. So I guess, yeah, these two I think might be the only thing, yeah, because there's definitely nothing here, right? There's just our man chilling there. Ooh. Weather's turned for the better, so let's go that way. It would be nice if more catacombs had Banished Knight armor on it. Yeah, but I understand. Again, From Software wants to go with variety a lot of the time. So we see like them trying to do a bunch of subtle differences to the catacombs and stuff, which aren't necessarily always significant. So I could see them just wanting to make sure that's mix and match, because otherwise they'd be putting Banished Knight equipment in basically all these catacombs. Like already they seem to be very, they seem to be generally very particular about where they use the Banished Knight weapons and shields and stuff, right? So I'm not surprised if they don't want to overdo it with the catacombs, with how prevalent the weapons already are. Oh, we just got our guy here. There we go. Yep. Not surprised. Okay. Anything over here? Also, I have no idea. Also, I have no idea how Godfrey and crew went over there to raise that church to the ground. Did they like just did they just make some boats and were like, okay, we're gonna craft some rafts and just head over? Or did they actually find the cave entrance and the secret passage that way? That's something I find funny to think about. Hello, crawling carrion. How many birds did you sweep up today? Quite a few. Man, sucks to be a bird just wanting to eat some meat and then it comes alive and devours you like a slime. It also kind of sucks when you get shipwrecked, huh, buddies? And then you get hit by Deathroot on the shore. Man, really sucks. That's just inconvenient. Just happened to be Deathroot in this corner of the shore. Just swam, obviously. Godfrey was just being an Olympic swimmer. He just, like, with the axe, he put the axe on his back and just started swimming the whole 9 yards all the way over to the church island. Yeah, okay, the cave's over there, of course. Okay. Pretty sure the entrance is in here, right, chat? Or is it the other side? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's from the other side. Alright, we're gonna go from here then. Okay, yeah, so we have graveyard. So we have, going this way, right? Da-da-da-da. I would have liked, I want to go over there properly to make sure, because I have no idea how many of these graveyards and stuff are actually loading properly. I'm trying to remember where yeah, there we go. Like, I know it's around here somewhere. Hello, sir. Having a good camping day? Then we have the snuffed out flame here, right? And then we go... Haley Drake. Again, Haley Drake Talisman's another good indication of Banished Knight resistance against the Holy Erdtree Empire. I already have shots of this guy, though, so we're fine on this front. Again, more of the flat-top graves and stuff with the coffins and things. Just got blown in on the water, huh, chat? High tide. Ba-ba. Then we got the tutorial area. I don't care enough about that to check that out right now. Go that way, yep. I think I already have shots of this, if I recall correctly, so this is fine. There's nothing really that interesting I want to grab anyway. Boo! And then, yeah, we you have the hero's grave here, so everything's good. Everything is fine. Let's look from here. Kaiden soldiers are, Kaiden mercenaries are definitely very cool designs for sure. It's always happy to see them. In fact, they're criminally underused. Like, you find them around Limgrave, and then the one in Consecrated Snowfield, but that's basically it. Yeah, so let's follow the journey, chat. So again, we talked about how they captured East. Yeah, I knew. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure there are like several of these, and they're like either down here or over here. Yeah. So there's like 3 or 4 here, and then 1 down here, right? So yeah, you have this idea of these could be related to the Storm Hill, totally possible. But this one would definitely have to be buried people around these low ground areas, right? Again, no sign of burials happening in this valley area or anything near or related to the bridge, right? It's all down like here, about this point up to the village. So again, mostly seems to have been set up our defense, entrench ourselves in, and we're gonna hold that position. And meanwhile, yeah, they took the east and the west flanks, right? Cliffs and stuff here, so it basically seemed to have stopped this way, and they started paving the highway and going down. So we have, could have swore there was one here, but I guess not. But they head down here, and then we of course have the roadblock. So you got roadblock, 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 right along the highway path, right? We go past here again, roadblock. Probably around this point they also had taken, around here, they probably took the path down to go over and combat the, take over that town, the mining town there, right? But, where is it? I know it's around here, right, chat? You know what I'm talking about. There's the lone grave here. There's probably someone, at least, who heroically confronted them there, and then he obviously perished and was, you know, given his respectful burial, and the town was just taken, right? And we know that the town had their own little graveyard that they would bury people around here, right? That's where we get the first, like, artist, wandering artist painting thing to cover. They would then continue all the way down here. Again, more roadblocks, definitely roadblocks here. I mean, this is unsurprising, right? Like, this would be the hardest area to push through, so it'd be the most natural defense point. And you got the bridge and stuff, right? Again, the bridges, we can tell from, like, there's no Erdtree paving here, so it's definitely not built by the people as they were building the Erdtree Highway. Same thing with this one. Oh, wait, it's low poly, of course, so you don't get to see it. But same idea there. Bridge is very clearly predates the Erdtree Highway and stuff. Oh, okay, I almost forgot to mention, I know something cool with the promotional pictures for the DLC. In the distance, one of them, you can see a belfry, as in the 4 belfries. Oh, that's neat. If it's actually one of the 4 belfries or not. But, if anything, it could tell us where the 4 belfries come from. If they're actually Liurnian in origin, or if they actually come from some preceding culture. That'd be cool, right? Like I said, we go this way, we got the graveyard here, battle, right? So you can tell the conflicts that were happening here. Gotta go up here, deal with the people up here, and we'll bury them over here. Go over here. We just take over this village, and we're going to convert the villagers here, who are the locals, who've been probably here before anybody else. Then we're going to build a church and have them all baptized. We'll take over and defeat this fort over here. And then we got, where is it? We got, of course, the town here, and the people buried there. We obviously have this here, which may have to do with the conflict to take over the village, quite possibly. Yeah, we go over here. Obviously, we have the catacomb and stuff. I think that's it, chat. I don't think there's any other grave. Oh, wait, right. How could I forget? There's also the graveyard right next to... No, wait. That graveyard has to do with the pilgrims. I forgot. My bad. Completely forgot. That has to be filtered out. This wasn't existing at the time. Then we have the church, the coffin cemetery here below the tower with the fights there. So that's all good. Okay, pretty much covered it all, I think. It's exactly the same structure. I even took a shot of one of the belfries at a distance to compare. That's really neat. Then, hopefully we'll be able to learn something of significance then in the DLC about that, because I have not touched 4 belfries. and it's not obvious to me whether or not we're supposed to believe they're just some Liurnian cultural thing that always connected to these other things. If so, it might tell us that the Academy culture is exceptionally old, though. Just worth thinking about. Actually, that can't be, though, because... Okay, it depends on how, it depends on if stargazing could extend people's lives at all, because then Azure and Lusat could be around for a lot longer than we would expect. Yeah, there's nothing else here except for the stuff for Fort Height, right? Yeah, okay. Boom. It should be here with you guys, right? Am I crazy? I could have sworn the... Yeah, there it is, right below. Alright, it's not where the wolves are. It's a little farther north. Okay. Thought they were connected with knocks them out? Again, possibly. I just have not... I've not yet touched on astrologers as deeply as I have with the Banished Knight related content, so... It's not immediately obvious to me where they would fit in terms of the general timeline and history we're going through here. Alright. What the hell? We don't really have any coffin or burial stuff here. Now, granted, could always be justified by what's being buried over there anyway. Hope, though, something a little bit more local. Let me double check. Closer to the actual place. Reminded you of the dynasty structures, personally? Yeah, maybe. Like I said, if we have another example of that exact tower being used in a way consistent with the other 4 belfries, then it's completely possible that we're going to learn a lot about the culture that made them and be able to identify that culture as a result. It sort of just depends on how, where they're used, to what extent that they're relevant. Doesn't need to be much. We just need a few extra hints to make things... It could even make something in the base game that was already supposed to be obvious even more obvious. Yeah, nothing here. There are no coffin cemeteries in the Weeping Peninsula, right? I don't think there are, at least. Besides, the Tower of Return. I think for this section, though, it's pretty clear. Really want to learn more about Blackstone Pillars from the DLC. Yeah, I talk about the ancient civilization culture a bit on my on Twitter, but like, yeah, it's still not exhaustive. There are aspects of the culture that I understand, and their design, in terms of like their designs and stuff. But there's so much else that still eludes me. Maybe it'll become more obvious as I get to that ancient part of the timeline and start hammering out like when certain events must happen or whatever, and see what gaps need to be filled by them. But until then, it's a little... It'd be nice if the DLC would expand on more stuff. Again, not expecting anything, but it would be nice. We are seeing ruins there, so it's a very good start. At the very least, it might tell us more about their presence on the plateau. Because we kind of don't have anything about their presence on the plateau beyond the ruin-strewn precipice, so I would really like it if they added a bit more there. Yeah, nothing else up here either. I don't recall any. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Nope. Right, so we have this here, and again, they treat these as kind of separate, so I can definitely buy one of them from the battles that happened here with the farm colonists, and this next one's from the Godric forces and stuff in more recent times, and then, well, you know what happened there. That wasn't pretty. Making sure I don't die of fall damage or something. cliffside graveyard here. Oh my god. Make things easier for me in the future. Why don't you use no clip? Because no clip isn't available on this camera. I only have free cam. It's a very convenient and nice free cam with a lot of options and stuff, but it is not a no clip. I'm not using cheat engine or something for this. Oh, where are we going? So again, most of the stuff I have to actually, you know, move around the world normally without God mode. Believe me, if the guy who made this camera ever creates a feature that disables dying or whatever, lets me be able to be like have infinite HP, take no fall damage, never have to worry about Torrent dying because it went 1 meter over the very short limit. Like, believe me, I will grab that thing right away. Okay, so there we go. Hey, Camp Martin, welcome to the chat. If I buy your book, will you sign it for me, Loki? I cannot actually guarantee that, because that would require us to kind of look into your order specifically and then make sure that I'd be able to find it. And even assuming if I did, I would then have to essentially get mailed the copy, so that way I could then sign it from, again, because they're taking it from their warehouses, and like I think their warehouse for the European stuff at least is in Poland. I don't know where the Americas they have it located, but anyway, it's not feasible, I don't think, Martin. Believe me, if you guys want my autograph, I don't know why you'd want my autograph, but if you guys really want my autograph signing the books, I'd be happy to, but it's just not feasible for me and the publisher, at least currently. Maybe in the future they'll do that option. Just asking, yeah. Yeah, I just don't see a way to make it work without causing astronomical costs that the publisher would immediately turn down. Yeah, there's nothing else here besides the graveyard behind, so we're good on that front. Okay, so there are a few areas I could see of potential wiggle room with the evidence. It would be a Loki stream. But yeah, so I see a few areas of wiggle room, but for the most part, it's consistent with the analysis I have here in front of me, so that's good. The biggest variable, in my opinion, let me pull this up. Loki hates his fans and refuses to sign copies. No, the slander. How could you, Xavier? How could you? Anyway, but yeah, so let's look at Limgrave. Where is Stormvale Castle? No, just Limgrave. Wait. Did I not take shots of this? No, this is something separate. Do you think America was always one with Radigan? No. I don't think that happened until after the Glowmite Queen incident. Yeah. I don't think Radigan was a thing until around the time the Omen incident was happening, most likely. Or at least shortly before it. Oops, I started controversy. No, how could you? Now I really will hate my fans. Nah, it's so cool. Is it under screenshot? Yeah, okay, it's under. Okay. We gotta move that. All right, so. My goodness. There we go. Boom. All right. So we got the Weeping Peninsula grave here. Right? Sorry, bridge here, right? The closest comparison I can find is this element is shared with this bridge, right? Similar idea here. But outside of that, it's completely different, right? Like the, you can see how the bridge here has a different kind of base thing going on. It doesn't just go straight down all flat. I'll still get it regardless. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's good content, I would think, but, you know, don't take my word for it. I'm kind of biased. Kind of reminds me of the basic Ford architecture, kind of. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. This bridge is also flat with a solid stone railing and very large, wide arches, which is also very different from this, right? This, we kind of alternate between very round to almost like a Gothic point structure, right? But obviously, towers are also not here. We don't really have a railing here, right? Also, like I said, the bridge is a little curved, it looks like, as you can see, right? Like, it seems to start out flat, but then it curves down a little. So there's a little bit of an arch there. Right? Yeah. Yeah, very... Oh. Very clear. No ocean, the lanes between. For sure. Yeah, then we have this here. This is the one that's connected to Lingdell. You have the, you have the saint statues and stuff here, of course, with the almost hexagonal base, right? You have these little window areas carved in with the individual tower stuff. And then you've got the railing, which is more of a traditional kind of fancy stone railing, right? Still got the wide arches here. You also have this structure here, right? This little flat thing that curves out and creates this little flat, like, stand. I'm trying to point that out because if you look here, by comparison, you have some similar elements, right? Like you have, it's obviously brighter stone, of course, but let's ignore that for the time being. Let's just look at the idea that you have the same, like, hexagonal type structure almost, right? I think it even, they have it down to... Oh, no. There we go. Yeah, even down to, I think, this... Actually, no, there might not be a secondary thing here. Yeah, there isn't really a secondary stand here. Yeah, so already we're seeing differences there. Again, it's a curved bridge the whole way, right? See the little slight arch there. I'd like to show the change in architecture representing the change in command. Actually, what I'm trying to highlight here is that there's a lot of differences here. So, again, we can kind of see the window eye structure here, but it's not used the same way, right? So there's the windows here. They're not on the actual tower stuff here. We kind of have that, though, here. You can also kind of see a similar structure here with the curve thing, but rather than used as a stand, it's to equip to this other thing that kind of sticks out, right? And sort of has this slope to it that leads to a window of its own, right? Do another comparison to the Divine Bridges. Divine Bridges have a similar of the arch thing that we were talking about, the two bridges before that, right? So, again, you can kind of see this arch bit up here. But you don't have the rest of this here. And, again, you can actually see we're returning to the idea of the windows with the railing and stuff, right? This one I think might be better, right? So we have the railing and the windows and stuff here, but again, a lot of other key differences. Obviously, the Gothic use and the way that the actual stonework and stuff is done. They put a lot of effort to making different bridge models, huh? Yeah, that seems to be the idea. Again, another angle to look at it from. Again, you see the pointed arches here, which is actually only really shared with the Liurnia Academy bridges. They do something similar there. So, like, yeah. Then we're comparing this now back at Altus. Again, somewhat similar to what we got here. We have a window thing with the Saint Bridge area, but obviously a lot shorter and smaller. We also don't have this now. This does not really exist, this little curving out structure to go into the slope. Now it's just sort of, you have kind of the slope, and then it's a regular straight down structure here. Again, we're back to the traditional railing. We have the little hexagonal stand with the extra added bit that we also, again... Going back to this. Actually, no. Going back to... This is where we see the extra stand thing, right? But then, the traditional railing with the divides is consistent with the other bridge in capital outskirts, right? Just doesn't have the dividers, though, it looks like. Yeah. And then, of course, we have the bridge of Iniquity, was it? Yeah. And that one is a sloped bridge, but otherwise it's very consistent with this bridge that we see here, right? Same window thing, same slight slope into a straight down. Is some of this architecture in the DLC trailer? I don't recall seeing it, but I may be crazy. I have to look through that stuff again, right? And then here, comparison, we have the Liurnia point to the bridges. Again, similar point that we see with the Divine Tower bridges. Kind of a similar railing idea. Keep in mind with this bridge in particular, this bridge was created in collaboration between the Academy and or I should say Caria and Liurnia, and the Erdtree Kingdom, hence why it uses the capital Erdtree highway tiles all the way up until we get to that central point with the Academy entrance where we have the flower image associated with Far Missoula and Erdtree Kingdom, but then it becomes typical Liurnia architecture for this side, right? Because this stuff was all that Liurnia had, then the big roundabout circle thing and this bridge were created, again, after the Altus Unification War. Right, so we have all that covered, and we have this bridge here. I took this shot just before stream, so that we can add it to this list here. So yeah. I've now had this full list I took out. God, putting these back in these folders are going to be a pain in the ass, but it's fine. Oh, this is the leftover from, I think, one Mikola thing I never took out of this folder. Anyway, so the only bridge I'm missing here actually is let me grab it, chat. Let me grab it. Is actually the bridge beside Stormvale. Let's do a quick comparison there. What'd be a good angle to look at? Let's see. No, we have to go this way, I think? Yeah. Oh, no! Well, would be a Loki stream. I didn't fall to my death in hilarious fashion. Okay, you know what, chat? I should just follow the road. No. The road. Road's supposed to branch off this way, right? Yeah, okay. Man, letting all these trees cover your dirt road. There we go. Now we're back to highway. Let's see. I should be able to get a good angle once we're through here. Damn it. Again, this would be a moment that no clip would be nice, so I didn't get caught on stupid trees with my horse. Done? Holy hell! This should have just gone down from Liurnia side. Would have been faster. In fact. Lore accurate torrent speed. Hey, Pastor. By the way, Loki, did you know that Gwyn theme from DS1 is A minor and uses white keys from piano, not a single black one? Yeah, I'm familiar with that. You thank Xavier for making me much more aware of the music side of things. God, we still have this terrible fog. Go away. There we go. Thank you. I'm happy when you listen. Okay, let's look at this again. Let's, let's lock ourselves here. Huh. I'd say this one's probably the most similar in terms of overall design, right? It has the blocks dividing things up with the window things. We still have the saint statues. No slope. Yeah, there's definitely no slopes here. We don't have this, right, at the bottom. That's the biggest point of difference I can find on this one, right? Actually, do any of them use something like this? I'm trying to see. Not really. Yeah, this one's usually a unique architectural element here. Yeah. There's something quite like what we see at the base of this bridge. The arches, though, are similar to this, for sure. And this. And the first bridge. Yeah, similar to this, too. Yeah. Okay, but that's interesting, chat. These are pretty uniform, right? Like, you have divider, divider, divider. This one's a bit weird, though. Oh, no, it just isn't loading properly. That's why. I was like, this one's not looking good. In that case... trying to find a good angle to do this, chat. Alright, let's see if high LOD fixes that. Yep, 100% it fixes. Okay. Let's look at it this way, then. Okay, there we go. Want to make sure the troll's out of the way in case I want to take a screenshot. Don't make me do it. There we go. I just tired of that stupid chain sticking out like a giant needle. There we go. Buddy finally learned how to cooperate. Alright. We take a shot like this, right? Alright, now we can do an actual... I've learned a bit about tuba and trombone, but it's been years since I've touched them, unfortunately. Oh, cool to know. I already knew all the white keys, either A minor or C major. Coolio, coolio. Anyway. Let's now look. Yep, zoom out. There we go. So yeah, the closest... The closest is probably this bridge. But it still has differences, too. So, what I gather, looking at all of this, is that really none of these bridge details matter. They're all super inconsistent. They borrow elements from each other, and there's no consistent pattern to them, really. You might be able to argue, maybe in some of the Altus cases, there's like, because this bridge is so similar to this bridge, right? So there's an obvious parallel there, right? But then this bridge has only its closest comparison being to... Let's go through the screenshots we already took here. Yeah, to this bridge. Like, that's its closest one. Even then, it's different at the bottom. The baseline. So, like, that's the best you got, right? Then you have this. Like, this bridge has, like, some elements Frankenstein from a bunch of the different bridges. Like, it's not consistent. And obviously, absolutely zero similarity to this. You know, another bridge I want to get a shot of now is, there we go. Let's get the bridge over here real quick. Because that one's very similar. In terms of, if I recall correctly, it also is an arched bridge with a curve to its path. Some made a lot of bridges and they decided to use them just because. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It doesn't feel like we can use the bridges to denote culture. Yes, I don't care about you. Stupid demi-human. Yeah, like, look at this now, chat, right? Like, we've got a little bit of, like, this curvature to the base now. The bridge is obviously now curved, like the one back there, but that's where the similarities pretty much end with that, right? You got, I guess you got this here, but you don't have any statues or anything on them. In fact, it kind of clips the more I look at it. It doesn't really kind of work with the way they're doing the curved bridge. Like, yeah. There we go. Get rid of all that added crap. It really does look to me like all the bridges are designed without any intent of consistency. So the only thing we could really use to kind of judge who and what made them, specifically in relation to Erdtree Kingdom, is if Erdtree tiling is used, right? Which isn't used in both of these cases. Or if certain statues and stuff are used, because that also can be used for a cultural connection. Now, granted, the only statue of relevance used here is always the saint statue. And the problem with the saint statue is it's used by various cultures throughout the history of this series. So it's like, it's an icon that's gotten passed around and adopted by different people. So, yeah, they're random except for the Farm Great Bridge. Yeah, exactly. Farm Great Bridge and the other bridge in Dragon Barrow are the only two that are. It's very obvious and distinct that they're intended to connect to the Bestial Sanctum, the larger Farm Azula culture over there, right? That's clearly what they're there to serve to do. So, looking at all these bridges and the different variability to their details tells me, no, it isn't to say that because you have the saint statues and this thing here with maybe a railing or whatever means that it's by the same culture that necessarily made this bridge or that bridge or that bridge or that bridge or any of the bridges up there, right? Now, granted, like I said, I do believe that this bridge was designed by the farm colonists after they rebelled and got their freedom in Stormvale. Same thing with this bridge. Same thing here. Same thing here. In fact, I don't think I don't think there was any bridge like this up until that point. I think what happened was Celia and company basically had control of the entire region up until you got to Summon Water Village, and Summon Water Village was kind of its own dead end. And then sorcerers would travel down this way. Oh! Uh-oh, I think my game crashed. Yep, game crashed. Woo! We love crashes! Man, Elden Ring. Even the Nox bridges? Which would be the Nox bridges in your estimation, Martin? Just so I have an idea what you're talking about. Please elaborate. Alright, adjust. Always stealth. Game speed. Yep, okay. Still got the camera working. Alright, we're good. We're back, baby! So yeah, I've talked about the idea of this potentially connecting to the Sun Capital. These probably connecting as part of the farm colonies, right? And then getting later repaved by the Erdtree capital, because, you know, it's the capital, it's their main highway and stuff, they're trying to show off, so they just sort of, they keep the they leave the saint statues, but they change up the tiling for all three of these bridges here. They don't care about the frontier, because it's the frontier, we'll build a highway, we're not gonna repave the existing stones, right? Like, they don't need to make a statement outside of their mainland. Hello, Oniwa! Welcome back! Good to see you again. I assume the color of stone for the Langdale Bridge matters, at least? I would say that it matters insofar as that they didn't keep it consistent with the structure here or here, yes. Everything else, though, I think is out the window. Like, I don't think it matters one way or other in this case. I don't think it matters if the, it's the same thing with Redmane Castle. Redmane Castle is clearly designed and has the same features as other, castles with the Norman architecture and stuff, right? With the Farm Azula, the Farm Colonist weaponry and things. The only major difference is that it's used a brighter stone, which could be accounted for just by the idea of that's where they source the stone locally, right? Like, obviously you have this much brighter, more, you could even argue, reddish stone. Very befitting of the area in its current incarnation. Now, did Caelid always have a red sky? I don't know. I would assume not, but who knows? Either way, it seems very clear that it doesn't use the same, dark gray stonework as the other castles, but it's otherwise the same in terms of design and assets that it's using. I love some architecture analysis. Yeah, like I said, I have to go over this data because it's mostly architectural analysis. We unfortunately don't have a lot of details on all the battles Godfrey and crew suffer with, so we have to use the mortuary archaeology and the architectural archaeology to really help us reconstruct how things progressed here, right? Speaking of, alright, so we have tries to sneak around using the forest as cover rather than trying to take a more direct route. Takes over, battle, takes over the fort. America establishes her church as her second research lab to study the minor Erd tree here with the knowledge from Eohede, while Godfrey keeps doing his killing thing. Take an assault across the Summon Water village to capture the village. Build their way up here. As we can see, the old highway, the old Sellian highway has in parts been replaced by Erdtree Highway, due to the age of the Sellia Highway and it needing some renovations. That's perfectly sensible to occur. Yeah, come over here, Anastasia, right? So yeah, we see Erdtree Highway, Erdtree Highway, Erdtree Highway, Erdtree Highway, Erdtree Highway, Erdtree Highway, Erdtree Highway. Yeah, Erdtree. So basically, Erdtree Highway going up all this section up until round here, if I recall correctly, right? Yeah, around up here. Yeah, here it is, right this point. So at this point, we see some of the old original highway, right? Without the Erdtree Highway etchings. And that continues along the whole way. Up until we get to Keelam. So, we have, of course, the Forsaken Village here. It has its own graveyard, so that's sort of covered. We have the minor Erdtree Catacombs, and the Smoldering Church. So again, much like what we see with the Rose Church and the Cliff Bottom Catacombs and the Gatefront Ruins, Church of Ella, and Hero's Grave area. We have this idea of essentially having them buried and giving them a fancy stuff where they get this special consecration at this church after the bodies are carried over, and then they're interred here in lieu of a hero's grave, quote unquote. They get these special, minor Erdtree catacombs instead, because that makes you all feel special and fuzzy inside, I'm sure. Right, but again, still playing flat stuff. We keep going. Right, they take over Keelam. We have the Coffin Cemetery over here, which likely belongs to Keelam all the way over out there, but like that's not too relevant. We have the Coffin Cemetery up here with the Forsaken Ruins. Again, how much has to do with previous battles, or if all of it's supposed to just be sort of centered around these catacombs, I can't say for absolute sure. But it's going to be worth mentioning the analysis all the same. They go there, yep. Again, here we go. We have another stretch of highway which has the Erdtree symbols used instead. So we got the Erdtree highway stuff going up until there we go. Here we go. Until we get to here. Then it's the same basic Sellia highway stuff. And that basically continues up until I think we get to... Oh, wait, sorry. down here. I think that continues, if I recall, all the way until we get around here-ish, but I have to double check now. Okay, so, before that, though, so we have, establishing likely a base at Keelam, builds the arena and stuff for his enjoyment. Has to go east because there are barrages and stuff that can harass them in their supply lines along this route. So they end up crossing over into the Dragon Barrow region of Caelid, have to take over Fort Faroth. We have a bunch of the bodies and stuff that can be buried here and left at the Minor Erd Tree, so that might explain why we don't see a proper graveyard here. I mean, unless you count the one down here, but that's for, obviously, the Celia battle. And then, we go over here, and we will find the idea that seems like some, escape from the fort, and try to... So we have the... Oh! That wasn't intentional, but hey, at least it saved me. We have the Coffin Cemetery here. This cemetery seems to bury sorcerers, hence why we have the Len Tower here, using, creating sorcerer balls, so it's likely that he took the sorcerers that were buried here. Now we know from the, magma worm working in Gale Tunnel that sorcerers, did either convert and ally themselves with the farm colonists and sort of integrated into their society, so we do realize that this is in some ways a battle against sorcerers, so it's not surprised that there were some sorcerers that were at Fort Faroth and fled. And then we have the other graveyard, yeah, over here nearby on the other side, right? So we have the one here, then we have the other cliffside graveyard over here, so it seems to be the idea that they tried to basically retreat. Maybe one last stand, maybe some desperate hope that survivors from Farm Azula might save them, even though they must have known by that point that it was hopeless, but hey, they did what they could. When do you think Minor Erd Tree spawned? I answer that. Yeah, I answer that in Crucible's End. Yeah, again, I recommend checking that out, Saint Neen. If you have, it sounds like you have read some of my stuff, but again, if you want, feel free to reread some of those sections, specifically the stuff on America and the farm colonists and the quotes I'm referencing, because I think I should have included the quotes for you to be able to read for yourself there. And then, yeah, Crucible's End covers all the stuff related to minor Erd Trees, Erd Tree avatars, Erd Tree, minor Erd Tree guardians, the whole 9 yards. I gotta kill you. Sorry, buddy. Them's the breaks. So we have the evidence there. Yeah, then we have the Caelid Waypoint Ruins. Waypoints are established by the Erd Tree Kingdom and serve as a government-sponsored in-house, so that way people who are traveling along the road, specifically diplomats, sponsors, basically government officials, will always have a place that they can stay. This was very popular in Edo, Japan, if I recall correctly. I think it was the Edo era. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Edo. And then, basically, they carried it over exactly into Elden Ring's lore now. So, these type of in-towns and stuff. Obviously, Fort Gale also has to be taken. Let's go from Fort Gale north. I just noticed, Loki, that the fancy Langdell lovers have the pregnant lady on it and the horn stuff you were looking at, too. Yeah! Yeah! It's really cool. Again, it all ties together into this whole Age of Plenty stuff that we're building there. So again, I might end up including that in that analysis now. I want to talk about the build-up of Langdell. How old is Celia exactly then? Celia and the Lascar and the Academy by extension. Actually, the Academy might have come a bit later based on when yeah, actually now, I was talking about the idea of maybe the Academy existing for a really long while, but it's quite possible that the Academy actually was relatively recent and Lascar was the main source. Yeah, you know, just because the Academy is recent doesn't mean the culture the Academy spawned from has to be, you know, okay, yeah, that effect. Anyway, to get to the question, so the idea would be that you have the mountaintop cultures here where we have the astrologer village, right? Right, so the Stargazer's ruins. Again, keep in mind the Japanese for astrologer is literally Stargazer, so again, that's why sometimes the localization's a little inconsistent on that, that's why. But again, you have the idea that you have two populations, basically, that migrated after the founding Reign of Stars incident, right? You have one that establishes down here, and that population A is the Lascar, right? They're the one who established the extensive town here. And then you have population B, which head through Farm Azula. Some seem to have stayed with Farm Azula based on some of the conifers we can find left over here. But then, The rest basically migrated down here and took over this area, and they established Celia. This was done, of course, in conjunction with the Nox in the area, which is why when you go underground, you see more of these conifers that cover this entire section. And a little bit, there's like 4 conifers like around here in the middle section area, but basically nowhere down the south where the Limgrave stuff, right? See, right? Like all the conifers, they're all rotted now, but there's all the conifers here and down here in this area, and I think also on Night Sacred Ground, if I recall correctly. Let me double check that. Yeah, because of the connection with the Nox that was established there. So they went down the well, they meet the Nox, then they established relations with the Nox, and then the Nox established a surface colony with the, there. And then after that, Celia then establishes the, Street of Sage's ruins. Now, again, it says street, but really all it's, again, Sage, more literally meaning wise man. Obviously, Sage and wise man have been used throughout the games to refer to sorcerers. And then, the street, more accurately town, so it would essentially be the Sage Town ruins. So you basically have another little settlement here at the base by where some of the main road where they would establish their Celia highway through, right? You would also have Waypoint ruins, obviously not. You would also have Keelam, which again passes straight through there. You also have the Forsaken ruins, which also seems established in a way to sort of take supplies and things from here and drop it down in the village because it's very off the main beaten road, right? So you essentially have these 3 towns or settlements built as part of this network, and then finally it ends at the Summon Water Village. Yeah, presumably being a depiction of America. Yeah, presumably that would be what it would be depicting in this case. What child do you think? I don't think the child is important. I think it's just to generally give the sense of the birth and the siring of the golden lineage, let's say, right? Just the general idea of abundance and prosperity and new life and vigor, right? I think that's generally what it's trying to showcase. You have the Horn of Plenty, which is obviously very deeply connected to abundance and all that stuff with the Crucible. And then you have the Pregnant Woman, which again sort of is very much the embodiment of what Marika's doing during that period, right? She's running a kingdom and she's having lots of babies. In fact, we don't really see her have children after the Age of Plenty, now that I recall. Again, before Radigan's reign. We're talking strictly in the Godfrey context. Yeah, now that I think about it, I think after Morgott and Mohg, they might stop having children. Because now that we found the symbols on Godwyn, we can say for sure that he was definitely born during the Crucible era. So I guess the only question then would be Mesmer. Mesmer is the last bit on the demigods that would make us question whether or not Marika had any children, at post-Age of Plenty, but before Radigan. Okay, I thought Celia had been much later, so it means the first Eternal City was destroyed some significant time before this migration movement, yeah, since Nokron already existed. No, Nokron, okay, so, in my analysis, Nokron is the original Eternal City, and then the Nameless Eternal City and, Noxtella both come later. So essentially you have, the Nox being punished for the rebellion against their high treason against the greater will. Whatever that is specifically, that is the general events of what happened, and they're forced underground, right? Like, there's no Nox that was allowed to survive on the surface. All the survivors fled to underground. They established the Nokron City on top of what was the old ancient dynasty ruins, right? They then eventually followed the river up to its source and established source, quote-unquote, right, where the 2 rivers split, the source of the split, the fork. That's where they established the Nameless Eternal City. And then down here, this is where we get Noxtella, and the obvious reason for Noxtella was because that's where the Black Moon was, right? So they had their crystal moon thing here, so they established the city there, and obviously they had the source of where the river split there. That'd be a good spot, and of course, as we also know, Erdtree was also possibly coming up around that time, so at least the roots. And then the actual destruction of the Nameless Eternal City, I would date till sometime after Godwyn is buried. Don't know if it was after, during, or before the Shattering. But sometime after Godwyn was buried, the Nox performed the Eternal Darkness ritual and end up summoning Estelle, who then proceeds to destroy the city, take its crystal sky, and then sort of whisk itself away down the routes of these, cavernous areas. Heads through... where is it? Yeah, heads this route, basically, right? Establishes one of its malformed, like, little, like, flakes of itself here and here. Then it takes the path to, Oh, I don't have the Lake of Rot in this account, this playthrough. Huh. Let's fix that, chat. You also confirmed the ladies on the hawk chairs, but very blurry. Yeah, that might be less relevant then because it's so blurry and so hard to see, but I'll try to keep that in mind in case it comes up again. Oh, okay, I thought they went downriver. No. They, again, it seems like the idea was, and you have to keep in mind, the Caelid Well to the Nokron stuff is the closest thing to Far Missoula we got, right? So, it's the obvious point where if the Nox and if we have Nox, humans, and dragons, and beastmen all living together in quote-unquote harmony in here, up until the High Treason event, then, the Nox escaping underground, it would make sense if they did so from Caelid. More so than, obviously, the mountaintops, because they have to go up the mountaintops, right? And then, therefore, they would end up down here. Would not America build her city on top of the Nox if they were, if still they were alive? Yeah, sure, why not? There are a ton of civilizations and stuff that are built. Like, the Academy of Liurnia and stuff is built on the Lake of Rot, and the Lake of Rot is relatively recent and stuff, right? Like, if the Lake of Rot exists before then, it doesn't affect Liurnia at all. Same thing with, like, building Volcano Manor on top of Gilmere or something, right? So they summoned Estelle. Does that have a connection to Radon? No, it seems Radon's thing is completely separate. Because, again, Radon seals the star. Oh, well, okay, I would say it could be related to Radon so far as Radon had sealed the stars, and so they had to use alternate means with which to, manipulate the stars. But, like, as we can see, sorcery and stuff is still able to operate and stuff with glintstone catalysts on Earth and things. So, again, and we're able to still use sorcery whether or not, like, Radon is dead. I guess we have to confirm, like, what sorceries we could technically use. Actually, no, because Radon's completely optional. So, yeah, you could use, like, almost any sorcery. Like, yeah, so... I don't know how much Radon sealing the stars would have an effect on what magic they're using or stuff, but in the end, they were trying to basically be like, okay, we're gonna do what every other Nox tries to do, and tries to return to our homeland up in the cosmos. So they ended up using Eternal Darkness to create a direct connection to the Primeval Current, but hey, they thought, hey, we'll just suck our magical selves up in to there, but they think, you know, if you create a portal that can suck you in, that also means it can pump something out, and well, it pumped out an Estelle. Unfortunate. As we know, there's at least enough time for Nokron, most likely, to figure out what was going on with the Nameless City, and, like, realize what happened with Eternal Darkness. That, of course, spread over to Celia by extension, because it's the surface colony connected to Nokron, and therefore the Eternal Darkness spell became this universal taboo that everyone knew, like, hey, it destroyed the Eternal City. Don't deal with it. Alright, let's go down here. I can't believe I don't have a connection to the Lake of Rot already. Boggles my mind. Any of the Saint statues up here, but that's likely due to the connection to the Carians. More Smithing Stone 5? Yeah, that makes sense. Black Moon seemed to function independent of Radon blocking the stars. The Black Moon might have already been shattered by that point. Yeah, this is the part of the timeline where I'm a bit vague. So it's really hard for me to kind of keep track of when everything was in existence or not existence in there. Because like I said, astrologer stuff, I have not done the deep dive to the same extent that I do with BK stuff. So I'm a little more fuzzy on that side. There we go, though. Okay, so as I was saying, so you have Estelle here. Leaves a thing here, then he leaves another sign of his trail here, then he probably took the route here, which is why we see the Nameless Eternal City get destroyed, but we don't see, Noxtella suffer the same fate. Because it basically, they got lucky that Estelle decided to turn left instead of right. That's basically what happened, right? And so Estelle ends up going this way, and then ends up in the Lake of Rot area, and as we know, ends up down here, which takes him all the way to this boss fight over here, right? Same design, but with the hawk in the middle instead. Ooh, that's actually a good point to compare the two, then. That's for sure. I wonder then if you could argue the pregnant woman in their case would represent their Placky's queen instead, then. Aeonium butterfly. I always fall for it, chat. Cool, cool. Thanks for showing the design, Xavier. I appreciate it. I really wish I could use torrent here. Alright, but now I have an option, because I don't have to look at all the... Yeah, now I have an option to look at this stuff without any of the ruins and things in the way. I just have to avoid pressing the buttons on this character. Forming stone, naturally. There we go, chat. And bada bing, bada boom. We are now golden. Yep, okay, there we go. So yeah, we just have the ruins here. Oh, these are some of the platforms and stuff? Okay, cool. Okay. There's the crystals leading back up to the academy. I like the concept art with Nox buildings in Lake of Rot. Ooh, is that actually in the concept art? If so, I'm gonna have to reference that because that's just gonna be good for my analysis point I would be making. Oh yeah, one more question. Why do you think Morgoth and Moog were the last ones to be born from Marika and Godfrey? Because we don't really have any evidence of children after that. Melania would be dead already as Glowmide Queen by this point when the Omen incident happened, so obviously she has to be born during the Age of Plenty. Godwyn, it was a while back, but basically on a certain stream we were checking out and we found that he had the exact same symbols on his kilt and stuff as Godfrey and the Crucible Knights. It's specifically an image that old cut content and cut description stuff would identify as a specific crest related to the Crucible and the Age of Plenty era, basically. So that very strongly suggests that Godwyn was also born during the Age of Plenty and grew up with that background of culture, right? You know my position on Godefroy as being the firstborn, so he would obviously come from that period. Godric was also probably born, though obviously he'd be a later generation and stuff, so he's not really relevant in this discussion. You also have... what other kids do we have to talk about? Actually, those are the only known children of Marika we talked, right? All the other demigods would be unknown and stuff like that, right? So at the very least, those are the only known children that we'd be working with. And then all the other ones are, of course, Radigan and Renala have their demigod children. I know they don't become demigods until Marika adopts them, but you know that's separate. But the point is that like they're not born until after, the Crucible era has ended because the Liurnia Wars have to happen first, right? And that's like that's the first major conflict occurring post Crucible era, and then you have after that. Yeah, after that, then it's Mikola and Melania by Radigan and Marika, right? So again, that's, you know, Godfrey's already out of the picture by then. So yeah, there really is no other option to say than that Morgoth and Moog are probably the last children that she has. Because it's doubtful after having Omen twins, they're continuing to have children during the Omen incident going on. And once the Omen incident is settled, Godfrey and Marika have a certain rift in their relationship. Hence why, again, I've talked about this before. The idea that it looks like Marika is willing to do the hard political decisions to maintain power, right? So she's willing to ultimately be like, okay, when our backs are to the wall, I will give up my children, even if I don't want to, in order to maintain my own personal power. for someone like Godfrey, who's about the straight up fight, right? Like, he's the guy who likes to prove himself in just combat. He's straightforward and simple in that respect. This whole sort of, like, political backstabbing type of thing where you essentially, like, give up your kids in order to get in the good social graces of the larger populace and stuff, of your subjects, that seems to not sit right with him, especially when you consider how he reacts to seeing Morgoth again, right? That very somber tone he takes to that reunion with right before his ultimate demise, right? And sort of combine that all together with the fact that Godfrey has no obvious presence in the Liurnian Wars. It's just basically, you know, Marika and Radigan's show. Kind of tells us that it looks like, yeah, they were not there to be having any baby making at that point. I was open to the possibility of maybe that'd be when, like, say, someone like Godwyn could be sired, but like I said, now that we have the, now that we 100% have the symbols and stuff to compare, that, yeah, Godwyn is probably born before then. He's probably older brother to Morgoth. Do you have a video explaining the order of their births? Nope. Oh, well, from the art book, sees all the underground stuff was changed in one way or another during development. That's not surprising. But again, concept art's useful because it gives us good ideas, and there's, we see the sluice gate that has the river flowing that would allow the Lake of Rot to be, you know, not, you know, spreading. The Rot wouldn't be turning into a lake if not for the sluice gate being closed by the Nock. So the idea of seeing more Nock structures down here is very nice. I thought Moog was born before Godwyn, and that's why he calls himself Mogwyn. I can't say exactly what the whole Mogwyn dynasty would be going for, but I'm not yeah, I really have no answer to that, because I don't see why that would necessitate that Godwyn be born first. It might have to do with the deeper meaning of Moog and or Gwyn. Actually, isn't Wyn? I think it might. Actually, I think the Moog part isn't actually important. I think it's, yeah, it's just the Wyn part, right? So, because Wyn has a meaning, if I remember, in Celtic. Oh, I can't find it right now. Now's a terrible time to do etymology hunting. I've heard that the Wyn just means friend of. Yeah, that could be it. Because that would make sense with Godwyn meaning friend of God. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, so back to what I was looking at here. We have the... Let's check out the Forkale stuff. He just thinks that he's the rightful heir, and you would argue that Godwyn would be the rightful heir. That, yeah, I don't think that's I don't think that's a good reason. Like Xavier says, I think an etymology explanation for whatever Mogwyn would mean would be better. And if it means friend of Moog or whatever, that makes sense then, the Mogwyn dynasty, because it's all about him. Also makes sense if we consider that Mogwyn may have come from Martin, assuming that all the demigods' basic backstories come from him. Because then it would make sense why Miyazaki would stick to that name rather than using, say, a kanji instead of Wyn. Oh. Yeah, there's nothing here. Or anything really behind here. Granted, there is the graveyard established at the end of the jail stuff, so that is indication of a battle. It just doesn't tell us what happened to the other people who would probably have died at the forts and stuff. Again, could maybe go back to the whole Erdtree catacombs thing. Yeah. Anyway, then we move on to here. We know that the burial was underground here, right? Because the catacomb they have, the coffin cemetery they have beneath these catacombs have been taken over and turned into a nest for the rot. Moog just wants to have friends. Moog's all about love. Yeah, that is true. Moog's main gimmick is about the love of the formless mother, the love of blood. The warmth of blood, giving us a wonderful embrace of a mother's love. I always forget where to go from here whenever I spawn in by this cathedral, because the area is so hidden by this rocks. There we go. Right, so we have our burial spot down here. Down here? God, I'm so lost with this place. No, that's too far. It's back here. No, not back here. Over here. Yeah, there you go. Hey, guard. Bye, guard. Yeah, so we have the coffin cemetery and stuff here, but they're being used as nests for all the baby kindred. Alright, we can move on from here. So that's your... But that would be probably coming later anyway, so... Actually, that could explain Fort Gale and stuff, too. So that is worth keeping in mind. Then we, of course, have the cathedral and stuff, right? And that, we have the coffin cemetery over here on the right. It's being pilfered now by all the nobles. Yeah, man, I know. Man, wouldn't it be nice if you just had a cool minor Erd tree to rely on right now? Horrible shrimpmen. Go over here, nothing special. We have obviously the Farm Azula. Well, these might be defectors. There's two options. There's either these are survivors from the conflict that managed to hide out and have returned to the ruined cathedral to stand guard over it or whatever. The other option is that these are deserters from what's his name, Neal or O'Neill, I forget which one is you fight here. Basically one of his detachment who deserted rather than die fighting the rot. Either way. So we got there, dragon gets killed. There we go. We have the cliffside graveyard here, yep. So you have that plus the coffin cemetery, so that's enough to insinuate conflict. Then we have down here, and we find the sorcery-styled Caelid catacombs, if I recall correctly, down here at the bottom. So, again, sorcerers are involved throughout this entire conflict, right? Yeah, so we have sorcerers helping with the construction of this catacomb here. I forget if the boss was significant, though, or not. There we go here. We have the whole red mane thing. I don't think there's any other graveyards I'm missing here. We have the one knight on a horse. I am so shocked that this is the only red mane knight horse guy. Like, come on, man. Take better care of your horses. I know you got big doggos attacking you, but come on. They can't all get eaten. They can't eat all the horses, can they? Right. Then we have... nothing really special until you get to the graveyard, which is out back here, right? So, yeah, nothing here, right? So Redbane gets captured and stuff. Then we keep on along our road on the highway. Right. I think it's fun that the Dragon Communion spell using Banished Knights count as dragons for the purpose of anti-dragon stuff. Oh, really? That is neat because they're going through the Dragon Communion thing. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like that they do that. That's cute. Now let's see. Yeah, then we have the graveyards here. Again, big battle at the Celia Gateway. Big surprise. Yeah, we still have the typical Celia thing. I think maybe it changes, though, somewhere around here. Nope, it's normal highway, normal highway. Now we're in the main street stuff. Maybe I remember wrong. I thought there was more Erdtree Highway somewhere here. Ah, here it was. I was right. I was like, okay, yeah, it was this section. Right, so they have, again, clear delineation, so probably, again, same idea. Probably plugging in some holes in the main road. Then we have the battle, of course, in Celia itself, resulting in all the deaths. We have all the skeletons and people that are buried in this grave area. Right. Then we have all the dead buried here. We have, of course, a church buried here because, of course, after the final battle, Marika comes to gloat as they bury the final of the dead as she takes over a continent-spanning empire. Of course she does. She's like, honey, I'm busy researching. Darling, I won the war. Oh, never mind. I'll be right over. I think the wiki says that Dragonkin soldiers don't, though. Oh, that is interesting. I guess they are technically quote-unquote fake dragons, right? So it's kind of funny, though, that the human with dragon elements has more dragon in him than the dragon-looking man thing. Loki, which grass them horses eating in Caelid? Everything's just napalm soil. Okay, you're not wrong, but listen. It's just a little bit of cancer, okay? They can deal. It's just a little bit of cancer. I mean, look at this, chat. Doesn't this look scrumptious? I mean, if the giant dogs in Caelid and the little dogs in Caelid can do it and just get a little bit of rot on their fur, you know, just feel a little bit of an itch, I think the horses could have managed. I'm just saying. I think horses are weak, chat. Terrible pack animals. Clearly, the lands between should have imported some donkeys. Maybe some camels. Yeah, so we just have the graveyards up here. And nothing else really special here. We got the giant thing because giants were living here once upon a time. Okay. So with all that in mind, I think I have 100% covered all the graveyards of relevant note. Yeah, I think I've covered all the graveyards of relevant note in the area. Oh, wait. Almost forgot. They also had to take over the Street of Sages ruins, and we do see a graveyard, cliffside graveyard, like here or something. Yeah, okay, so that covers them all. So yeah, I haven't missed one, I don't think. I think I have all the graveyards factored into the analysis. It's just a matter of maybe doing some polish, maybe some slight expansion and stuff to factor in some different things. Yeah. It's always cool seeing the different. Ever since Last Protagonist pointed this out, I really do appreciate noticing the difference between the more vibrant trees being used and the regular yellow trees. Alright, so we're moving on from there. Yeah, nothing else here with the merchant shack, just a regular old pastor. Sorry, pastor. Doing his sheep herding thing with his giant oversized mutts. Yeah, okay, we're good. Alright, so that covers the whole of the war stuff as far as the data is concerned, and I don't see any areas where I need to majorly deviate in my analysis. Yeah, so I think it's mostly going to be adding and expanding on things. Yeah, nothing there. The battle's here. Compact here. Yeah, so Liurnia Wars. Once Liurnia Wars is done, I think we will have Fringe Folk Rebellions mostly finished. It's going to be a matter of polishing and expanding on stuff and rewording things. Got to go. Thanks again for answers. I'll read your analysis that I still haven't. No problem, Saint Meme. I'm probably going to wind things down now anyway, so wonderful having you. Gonna just double check a few more things. Let's just make sure. We don't need you anymore. Let's look at this. Fringe Folk Rebellions. What images do I have in this folder? Alright, so we got that, because that might be useful. We got the Sage statues above, yeah, the Chamberlain to Godfrey. Again, this seems to be used to indicate that, versus the regular Saint statue that has a sword, Godfrey is trying to convey how, while he is obviously sending a message with his giant tower on top of their dead, with the golden flowers everywhere, there's also clearly the idea that he's trying to come in quote-unquote peace to share knowledge and information and bring education to these savages who rebelled against the Empire, and so are having to be properly taught, right? Obviously lion stuff. We got the America statue thing there. We got the, got that there. We got this, yeah. We got our hawk boy above the, yeah, there it is, right below the sage statues. Then, of course, we got that typical symbol. I might not use this, actually. Oh, yes, he's just liberating them. Yeah, exactly. He's just liberating them from their ignorance. Among other things. Like their lives. We got the Erdtree reliefs on the wooden doors. I knew I took shots of these! Okay, yeah. I was wondering where these were, because I know I took shots of them and added them to the analysis, but I was like, where are they? Okay, there they go. I left them in this folder. That's why I gotta change that. Yeah, this is behind there. Same symbol. We saw this with the Far Missoula thing, and they just took out the figure with the shield there, and otherwise use the same as Far Missoula. That's gonna go in alongside the flower in terms of mention. So that's gonna be really cool. We write a book on Elden Ring lore, assuming I ever finish it, yeah. But that'll be another 10 years, so get back to me in a decade. That ain't happening anytime soon. We got the Sarash thing. Yeah, we got the background of Godfrey with Sarash. That honestly, those would probably be things I would use in a Far Missoula analysis to talk about Sarash having, you know, more hands and claws and stuff. It has to be an encyclopedia series. Yeah, Dark Souls 1 is the shortest of the Dark Souls games, and it was 2 volumes. I don't even want to imagine what Dark Souls 2 and 3 would look like. Maybe Dark Souls 2 can get away with being 2 volumes as well, but Dark Souls 3 I think is going to be 3 volumes, and Elden Ring, oh my fucking god. Now, granted, counterpoint, Elden Ring has a lot of Dark Souls 2 issue where there's a lot of superfluous shit that doesn't really need to be mentioned. There's a lot of that. So it may be a lot smaller than we would think. But I don't know. I think I've already written at least 100 pages of analysis between what I've published and haven't published. I think it's at least close to that by now. And I want to say my manuscript for Dark Souls 1 was like 250 pages, maybe 350 pages. I have to double check the old document. So yeah, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot because we still have. Now, granted, it's a significant portion of the Godfrey reign, which is perhaps where the biggest chunk of lore is. Radagon's reign is probably going to be a single analysis in all likelihood. But then you have the demigods. I still haven't covered Melania and Mikola. I still haven't covered Ronnie. Still haven't covered Rykard. Those would be their own separate things. Now, Rykard might be a little smaller and stuff, but like there's a lot to consider still. So, like, yeah. It's impressive. Anyway, moving on. Oh, more shield folk. And then the image of the crucible imagery. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And that's it? Okay, that's the last one. Alright, so I have to start moving more stuff into this area because now I'm hitting the limit on terms of what I want to include and not. Converted Fringe Folk Tower. Oh, you know what? I never actually took a shot of this thing when it was outside of this, so let's actually get that shot before we close shop here. Let's get on my sorcerer account. There we go. I can't wait to stare at more little details like these in the DLC. Yep. Get ready, chat. I'm gonna love the part where I finally do the DLC, but then I'm still not beating the game because I'm so busy getting all the little details from the DLC in side streams that I'm not continuing the Let's Play on the main base game. I'm gonna love when that happens. Because knowing me, that's definitely gonna happen. No, wait, it's not here. I'm crazy. Why am I looking over here? Dumb me. The Shattering itself also needs analysis. Yeah, that would mostly be Morgott, maybe a bit of the Rykard campaign, possibly. Yeah, I don't know how that would work. I'd have to talk about the Alliance and the circumstances with Morgott and the other demigods. Then I have to talk about the conflict without getting in too much specifics because of how much I cover in Radon and Godric, right? Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I honestly think a Shattering analysis might be a little short because it would be mostly me summarizing the actual war aspects, like just going through the bullet points of, you know, You had the first defensive Langdell where it found its roots, then eventually you have the second defensive Langdell, so it cascades out of control eventually. Then you move on to, like, sort of the idea that you have all the demigods fighting and stuff, all doing their own thing, Morgoth coming to the field as Margit, and then I would probably skip over to talk about how the conflict finally ends with Melania and Radon, right? But it would be mostly talk about the lead up to the actual conflict and the Shattering War itself. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one to think about. Okay, let's get the actual shot I want here. Thank you. There we go. Okay. We have our screenshot. Alright, that's good. So that's covered. So now I have all the relevant stuff. Yeah, because again, much like what I talked about with the lens tower, you have all the bodies here, and there's a lot of sorcerers being buried here. That's for Liurnia War analysis, though. I'll be covering that. And then I don't know when I'm going to talk about these towers. The towers would be their own thing, probably, or I'd have to find a way to insert them into existing analyses. Like, I could probably get away with talking about the converted tower in, I might be able to get away with talking about it in Liurnia's War, actually. I have to double-check that. Teens has pointed out that the pregnant lady motif also shows at the Rhea Lucaria debate parlor, so I'll be posting another picture of that. Let's look at that too while we're here. That's cool. Let's check debate parlor. Again, I think that might be part of the image that might be carried over from Cathedral, but I have to double check that. I know the giant circular image that it's on 100% is. The debate parlor, huh? Not here. It amazes me what they consider worth having, you know, fully rendered, and what they're like, nah, it's fine. We have babies here. It's behind the big cloth. Okay, gotcha. Ah, yep, they're using the same. They're using that image right here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so they got it here. Granted, it's mostly covered, so it's possible they were just like, we don't want to focus on this, but yeah, it is. It is there. Coolio. I wonder if this was a shrine, perhaps, that was created. We have a lot of Radigan stuff found in this debate parlor, specifically, so... You have to wonder if there was, like, a America statue that was placed here. There might have been factional conflict among the sorcerers. That's interesting to think about. Anyway, Converted Tower, Road's End Catacombs, Minor Erdtree, Revenger Shack. Yeah, nothing in here on the west that I care about with the four belfries and stuff. Then we move here. Cut the Liurnia stuff. Caria Manor. Anything special here that we want to focus on? Not really. We have the graveyard and things, but that's not too important. Then they ripped it off and put an old Academy symbol over it. Basically, that would be the idea. Is they can't. It's similar to what we see with say Ariandel in Dark Souls 3. Again, I want my Ariandel thesis to one day be finished so I can have that on the website already. But yeah, it would be a similar idea where it's like, okay, you know, bigger statues would be difficult to remove or whatever, so you kind of like deface them maybe, but you won't entirely remove them. But if it's like a smaller icon or something, it'd be very easy to sort of, you know, take that off the table and then, like, you know, slap something else on it if there's any other, like, imagery that they might not like. So that could be an explanation of if we want to say that it's intentional that there is that there. You could also say it's connected to Renala and maybe the births that happened under Radigan's reign. But considering how much we have, like, Radigan stuff in the rafters here, and this is the, you know, debate parlor where there would be discussion and stuff about the school and, like, where to go forward and things of that nature, right? I think you could definitely make an argument that there may have been a factional conflict among the sorcerers. And obviously the fully independent faction, let's go back to the old ways with the go back to the old ways with astrology and all that stuff, won out. I'm not sure if that extends to primeval sorcery per se. They might have still been, at least some of them might, maybe a good portion of them might have still been kind of icky about that because, you know, human sacrifice in order to maybe become a star. That might have not been up their alley, but the rest of it totally could have. Yeah, and everything else, we've talked about this stuff before. Things empty, been left to overgrow in the fountain. Got one of you here because why not? Okay. A good way to be sure about this would be to check if the symbols used here. Not into meatballs, I guess. Yeah, I guess they're not.
Where did he flee, my sweetings?
Maybe they're Parmesan cheese types.
From whence he hide. There are books and light aplenty, thither not. Come out, say I, or will ye be gravestones?
We got the baby cherubim things here. Same thing here, right? I'm not seeing that pregnant woman asset being used here. Huh. Yeah, I can't find it elsewhere here. Got giant stone statue of her ex-husband. Hey, honey, I know that we kind of left on some awkward terms, but hey, I became king with my new wife. Hey, look at me. Look at me doing this new awesome pose I came up with. We're still cool, right? Man, Radigan's such a little shit. Renala, you could do better. Marry me instead. You know what? Forget the Ronnie ending. Where's my Renala ending? Where's the MILF ending? Yeah, okay, that covers everything else. Yeah, I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover today. Yeah, I have all the graveyards and stuff listed here on this account, thankfully. Yes, you have the graveyard here. There's dead here, but it's not really a graveyard. I think it's not really a graveyard, right? Also, I learned that the sweetings can come out of the floor. Wait, as in they just come out of the floor, like, clip-wise? Or do they come out of, like, a magical thing in the floor? Like... Renal ending, you get senile, like... Oh, it's above the Radigan statue. It's definitely there at the library with Renala. Oh, really? Is it? Okay, then we'll go back and check it out again if it's above the Radigan statue. Yeah, there's no graveyards here. There's just people dead here. I'll be honest, I think this is supposed to just represent a local conflict. You have, like, two bandits, and then you have the other skeletons of the militia. So I think this is just supposed to represent, like, you know... Obviously, they're in the same area as the graveyard, so it makes sense that they, there might be Deathroot in the area. And it's just a matter of, oh, some bandits, you know, some villagers went out, you know, formed a militia, went out, chased the bandits, and, killed them. They just out of the floor jankily. Ew. Obviously, okay, so we have actual graveyard inside the town here. Yeah. So you have the graveyard here, graveyard there, some coffin cemeteries on either side. Yeah. I think I could probably get away with just considering this one giant skull, but whatever. Yep, there. Yep, there. That's the cliffside graveyard there. That is the Keelam graveyard. Obviously the catacombs and stuff. The two graveyards we have marked here. Yeah, that's for the graveyard by the hideaway, and then the rest for here representing everything. Also, I could probably just plop a skull here, and that would be fine to represent it all. The graveyard's there. Back there. Cliffside graveyard there. Coffin cemetery and cliffside graveyard. Graveyard behind the ruins for the village. Cliffside graveyard over here. Cliffside Graveyard here, here, here. Yeah, there really isn't one here. I could have swore there was one there, but I really am going senile. Maybe I do deserve Renola for my ending. But it's at the dark part, the furthest end, so I think it's not. You're not supposed to see it. Yeah, I'll double check it either way because I mean, Radigan statue's there at least, so it might be relevant again. It's possible that this is just a random thing they were using because it's fancy and stuff, and it's not that important. They just took the icon for what is important with the Horn of Plenty stuff and the other objects. We'll have to see. Yeah, this is the graveyard there. Yeah, graveyard for the church. That's for the pilgrimage time and Radigan's reign. There. Obviously there. Graveyard's there. Graveyard there with the catacomb. Graveyard there with those catacombs. Graveyard, graveyard, graveyard here. Oh, there's the one solitary grave there. Of course I'm marking that. Okay, yeah, that's for all the various graveyard stuff that's inside the academy. Yes, Raver there. Yeah, I think I've covered it all, chat. Like, all the other stuff comes from earlier conflicts and things, so I don't think that's relevant anymore. Yeah, obviously nothing up here is relevant. Oh, you're talking about the kids coming out of the floor. Okay, not the motif. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the motif. Okay. So then, yeah, then if we can't really see it, that makes sense then. If it's covered in shadow.
Where did he flee, my sweetings?
There we go. I mean, it's not entirely covered in shadow, right? Or are we talking about, like, up here? Like, from here? Because if so, then yeah, maybe. It's really hard to see anything from there. But if we're talking about, like, actually above, like, Radigan here, then no. Huh. Alright, chat, I think that's gonna cover it, though.
Come out from whence ye hide.
Yeah, I'm tired of you.
There are books and...
Listen, you know what? Maybe marrying Renala wouldn't be the good idea. She'd just repeat herself endlessly, and I would go crazy myself. Alright, I think we're done, chat. I think I've covered what I wanted to cover today. We got a few good screenshots, but most of it was just me going over the data like I wanted. And I feel pretty confident now. Looking over these bridges again. Seems like we're very good there. Heart for Mercy. Thank you, Mercy. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything too crazy here. Yeah, we have the arrows thing. Maybe I want to look at the arrows in the catacombs in the future. Just to do, like, sort of a once-over on those. But I don't think that's going to be needed for this analysis. If anything, I can always add it later. Geez, I returned, but kind of late in my amount. Yeah, it's okay, Rising. We're going to be ending things here. Again, thanks, everybody, for showing up. I really appreciate the support that you give. It helps me pass the time so I don't sound like I'm just being a crazy person talking out loud on here. By the way, about the bridges, some of them are just functional rather than aesthetic. Yeah, I'm sure some of the details are purely for function and stuff, but for me, I'm mostly looking at the aesthetic elements to those functions to see if the shared assets could have a pattern with which we could derive a cultural origin. And yeah, it doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem to exist. As someone said earlier, I can't remember who, it's very clear that outside the Farum bridges, the bridges have no pattern with which we're supposed to identify them with, which is fine because they more or less all tie into the farm colonist culture in some form or another, and so the details don't matter, as far as I can tell from the history. Sorry, I looked away. Did you get a picture of the motif above Radigan? No, I did not, actually. I actually don't know what motif is above Radigan. I wasn't looking too hard. Oh, actually, it is the motif. It is the exact motif. Ah, that's funny. Is this the only place they do it too? Yeah, I can't find it. Okay, well, if you guys find it any more in the future, we'll get it in a future stream. I really do need to get going, though, now. So we're going to be ending this here. Yeah. Anyway, thanks again so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. Until then, ciao!